Alrighty. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to your birth chart reading. So let me just make sure all the video is well calibrated. It is now time for my timer. Boom, boom, boom. And we are in business. So let's, first of all, thank you for your patience. February was my busiest month ever as an astrologer. And I guess this is year 5 now. So a little more waiting time for the readings than usual, but I can assure you that I'm in a very high vibe today. Worked out, had a huge workout, and I only do these readings when I'm really, really feeling in that flow state, and that's one of those times right now. So, all right, before I go this direction, let's share the screen. Let's show. Wait, actually, hold up. I want to make sure that okay, yeah. Nearly made the mistake. I don't want to share last names on here. Let's go ahead and delete that. And let's edit out the last name. Even though there will probably be many people with your last name, it's still not the way to be. Okay, I want to make sure there's none showing in my. Okay. All right, so Shelby W. Okay, let's go ahead and share that. So what do we have here? So we've got a Scorpio rising with Venus rising. Ooh, what a beautiful placement. Wow. I bet you your eyes are marvelous. I bet you have very beautiful and mysterious and just like eyes that people talk about. But, also with the Chiron there can be like a certain level of beauty and pain in your kind of overall, the way you kind of, it's such a great placement for a healer, someone that can like just your ascendant, right? Your first house, like Scorpio, the rising Scorpio risings are very like old soul people, right? And they carry this energy of transformation and of shadow work and of like taking these spiritual energetic risks. They carry that on their shoulders, like on their face, right, in their existence. Scorpio is a very hidden sign, but when you have it rising, it's not hidden. It's your personality. It rules your personality. It rules how you look. All these things. But yeah, so very interesting. Like just right off the bat, with Mars there too, in that loaded first house. That this is a definite signature of someone who's meant to be like, or not. I don't want to say meant to, but who can be very, very good in any kind of healing profession, or even just having a healing psychological effect on people around them. Very interesting. With your moon in the 8th house, I'm seeing a theme already here. In Gemini, unbelievable stuff, right? Like speak of the psychologist, therapist, like kind of like the astrologer even, right? Or whatever career takes you behind the scenes. So, okay, what I really like to start out with is and anyone that has gotten readings or who's watching my readings on YouTube would know, is what is the relationship between the sun and the moon, right? Because these are the two biggest parts of your chart. Everyone knows their sun sign. Yours is cusp Virgo. Wow. Okay, so you're born on a day before my best friend, Trey, the guy I do the Jesse and Trey podcast with. If you haven't heard it, you should check it out on every platform. Spotify, blah, 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 Apple, Google. Okay, anyway, so this is a very interesting cusp. And not all astrologers believe in cusps. I've observed them really, really like in sun signs. I know it would make sense to be like, okay, so if they work in sun signs, they work everywhere, which I think they probably do, but like, I don't really speak about them. I don't know. I like to talk about what I've observed, I don't want to like make guesses, but this one is the cusp of beauty. So if I remember correctly, the names, and it's really about, it's like, Virgo about to enter Libra, you get a lot of the qualities. It's like a Virgo with a love of luxury, a love of like having things like kind of like that Libra vibe of like rightful human relations and balance and and very, very peaceful. But then there's also, the Virgo, which is all about the, like, it's very pragmatic, very useful. It's organized. But I think that the Venusian, which is, the Libra, the Venusian aspect of it kind of gives more of it makes it more easygoing, more like my best friend, like he's a double Virgo, but you could just never really tell because he's so chill, so go with the flow, so what so many people say about like how Virgos are with like, they'll be like OCD, nervous, anxious, obviously not all the time, critical, stuff like that. He has a little bit of that, but it's always constructive, so with Virgo sun, 11th house, it's in the house of Aquarius, or classically ruled by Aquarius. So, here, and it's right next to the North Node, and then you got Mercury there, Black Moon. Okay, so I'd imagine that your life, is really a big part of it is about getting closer to some type of like large goal, whether that be like working in sync with other people, like in like a large group, or like kind of like a tribe type thing, or like some type of like organization, or just, I see so much of the 11th house in clients' charts, and it really makes me think that the world's going to change, and we'll enter a period where like we're literally like creating new tribes, like we're literally like actual ones, like where people are literally like the world is such a different, it's so different that people are like going and like and building these like little like spaces or like communities. And I just always feel that when I see these like 11th house sun people that, and I actually, no, I don't. But like, I just feel like that has so much to do with it. Right. So yeah, but besides that, like 11th house is very social. It's very goal oriented. They work, they're steadily working to try to really achieve, something very, very big. And a lot of times it has like a humanitarian backbone to it. And, Virgo being the sign of service, right? In the house of, Virgo and Aquarius, or most linked to service, in the house of service to humanity, 11th house, it makes me think that a big part of your life is giving back and finding like potentially like if it's a job or it's some way we're able to do that through your work, through your associations with other people. Here's what I'm working with right now. I always just hold these and helps me in my readings. I don't know what it does, but it's awesome. So yeah. So, okay. What happens then? The fact that your North Node is conjunct your sun, and I give like a 15-degree orb for those. Well, that's crazy. That's massive. That's like the North Node in your chart represents your highest potential karma. So this is like a huge pull for you karmically towards the high Virgo energy. So this is a huge, huge point about to make. And you have Black Moon Lilith, which represents kind of like the dark side of your personality. Like if you let yourself go, it's kind of like what shows up. You also have it here in Virgo. So this is painting a picture for me in my mind of you being someone who has to really study and learn what the difference between low and high Virgo is, right? Low Virgo, they can have difficulty with self-love, or they can be so self-critical because they're very observant. They notice everything, right? And they can really like be too involved in the step-by-step and have trouble with that just letting go, and they can be very nervous, very anxious, and very, very, also very, very task oriented. But then at the same time, they can, there's that perfectionism that is just so common in people with Virgo placements. And with your Mercury there, which is your mind, your communication, could definitely be the case. So what I would say is, I found that Virgo is a very mysterious sign because it's the opposite sign of Pisces, right? And opposite signs take a lot from each other. So some Virgo people might act more Pisces while vice versa, right? And Virgo, so there's lots of magic. I always call it earth magic. I think Virgo is earth magic, right? Because Pisces is extremely magical sign. So it's the opposite energy of the same energy, but the opposite on the spectrum of Pisces. So Virgo, I always see it as this like white dove, this like white pure. aiming so, or like those white, like Kundalini yoga robes. I don't know. That just reminds me of Virgo. And it's aiming so much towards perfection, right? And it's always, sorry, I had like a bloody nose like a second ago. It was so random. So I'm just, yeah. But so Virgo, like on its quest, it has such high expectations for itself that it can sometimes really have a negative effect on relationships when they're not able to have self-love, right? And let me show my face a little bit. Where are we? I forget that it doesn't show me on both. Okay. So, yeah. So with Virgo, it's about learning that tendency exists and to basically, go towards like a life where you're still trying your hardest, but you're looking at, okay, what can Virgo take from its opposite sign, Pisces? Well, Pisces is a very dreamy sign that trusts the universe. It kind of has this deep imagination, which, you know, Virgo also has. Many Virgo are very, very imaginative people. But Pisces doesn't worry as much. Pisces kind of thinks like, you know, it's just going to work out, you know, and it goes with the flow so much. Sometimes, you know, it's not necessarily a good thing, because Virgo is like the person that will be like planning so much for the trip, right? And they'll actually remember something super important, like you need to bring this type of like I know it's a vaccine, but you need to bring this type of like whatever to not get sick. And Pisces would be the one that's like, oh, I don't care, like we're just gonna go with the flow, whatever, we'll see what happens. And I'm a Pisces, so I know this. And you know, surely enough, like even though Virgo maybe came off as anxious and hypochondriac, like they were right. So it's like there is a lot of truth, and there has to be a balance for these two signs, right? So yeah, so it's getting past, like I always tell people, like with Virgo suns, it's like, what's your best today, right? Rate on a scale of 0 to 100, especially since you're so mercurial, because you have the double Mercury, you have the Mercury ruling your moon and your sun. Scale of 1 to 100, you'll give your best, but if your best on a certain day is a 60, you need to have some time. You need to just chill out. You can't like you know, you have some mental health stuff in the way. Like a big part is giving yourself. I'm gonna have a Coca-Cola, a rare thing also. I like the last ones. So yeah, a rare thing is what was I just saying? Basically, yeah, being able to allow yourself to be the 60, to be the 40, and then know that there's going to be days where you're on that 100 level too. And the fact that your North Node is there on your sun, that tells me that this is extremely, extremely important from a karmic past life perspective, and that it's something that you've been working on mastering Virgo energy in past lives. Because in past lives, you've been very, very like Pisces 5th house South Node. It's like, you know, Leo Pisces, like it's like literally me, but like you know, kind of like there's lots of mysticism. There's lots of you came in with lots of past life knowledge and wisdom that you always had. It just had to be like turned on, right? You just have to like go like meet the right people who just kind of activate it, right? But with the Virgo, right? So it's like pulling you towards that high Virgo energy. So things that are super important are things like routine, things like health, right? Being of service. And in your case, especially like, you know, finding the right group of people that you can really, really work with and who share your ideals and that you can really communicate a lot with, like very, like I see you being a part of like some type of like tribe or organization or something that's coming in your life. You're very young too. So like, you know, you're born in 97. So I have to take that in consideration. But you're going to be, you know, I definitely see you being a part of like friend groups, organizations, whatever it is. You can be creative thinking about, and I think you got a follow-up, didn't you? So like I always tell people like during, let me just check. No follow-up. Okay. Well, if you decide to get a follow-up, but I forget if you were the one who said that you would decide after. If you decide to get a follow-up session, I'll still give you the same price I would have given you if you got them both together, which is $70 more. And make sure to ask me about that. Or like for us to have a discussion about that, because it is very, yeah, it's a very big part of the chart. But anyways, so with Virgo, right, you have to really know when you're being overly Virgo, right? Because the Black Moon Lilith here, that's basically telling me that that tendency does exist, that tendency towards being super hard on yourself, super perfectionist, which perfectionist is a disease of the mind, which says, if I cannot be 100%, if I cannot be 100 out of 100, like impossible to get to ideals, then I should just go to zero. And there's like this collapse. So that's why it's so important to just have self-compassion and learn to accept the shortcomings, right? Once you like have one sip of this Coke, it's like more. I know it's not the best thing for you, but I did a 90-minute run today. Come on. Okay, so yeah. So more about the Black Moon Lilith placement, right? You might also feel that you have to really live up to other people's high standards, and that other people are really demanding lots of perfection. So that can be like internally what you think. And kind of like the ones I just talked about, like where you're like doomed to fail because it's so like crazily high. But really, it's you who unconsciously or consciously sets these standards, right? Like you're the one pushing yourself too hard, but you might put it on other people. And then like also a big part of it is like when like the projection, like imagine like if you're unsettled within yourself, you might like notice something that someone does or says or whatever, and then just like it can sometimes be a little bit of a flow killer at the low energy of Virgo, right? Like someone who's always like, oh, I noticed you did this like wrong, or like stuff like that, right? I'm not saying that's you. I'm saying that's a potential. So yeah, it makes you very perceptive, which is one of the really great things of it, right? It's very observant, but it's all about like acknowledging your own shortcomings and coming to peace with them. And like having a need for perfection is a shortcoming in the sense, right? It's almost like a weird catch-22 or something. But yeah, so it's all about like lightening your load, and then that leads to relationship success, right? Seeing the human in every situation, right? And then using your gift of analysis and perception and your observant, like putting that within, using that Virgo energy internally, right? And seeing, like for example, you're meditating and you're like, oh wow, I notice like I keep having this like unconscious message of like I can feel it, like I'm telling myself I'm such a bad, like it's almost like I'm unconsciously telling myself that I'm not a good meditator, I can't do it, something like that, I'm not good enough. And I always say people with lots of Virgo, sorry, my nose is scratchy, they'll be here while other people will be here. Here's a rough example. And they'll think they're here and that other people are here, but really it's the opposite because they're so hard on themselves. So it's really important to, yeah. So how does that relate to Gemini? Well, guess what? They square each other. They're both mutable. So, there is a certain level of and they're both ruled by Mercury. So there is a certain level of even though they're squaring, of connection between the two. I think that having your sun square moon, which I do too, by the way, and mine are the two other mutables. I have Pisces, which wow, we have completely opposite suns, really cool. And we have opposite suns and opposite moons. That's crazy. Our moons are only 3 degrees off opposite, and our suns are exactly opposite, or 1 degree off. Wow, I did not notice that because I'm Sag moon, you're Gemini moon, and you're Virgo sun, I'm Pisces sun. And like literally like that's crazy. So you were meant to find me. Like this is like some faded stuff. And I love this because I always know that you're gonna really take in the message well and understand it. Crazy. So yeah, so how do these two get along? Well, mutable. So usually like I was saying, when you have a square, a 90-degree angle between your sun and your moon, or like even just an elemental square, it's difficult. It can feel like there's two different parts of the self that are trying to coexist, but it's just hard, right? And so you try to basically find like some middle ground, like where like it's like diplomacy, like internal diplomacy. So with Virgo and Gemini, the middle ground is the fact that it's Mercury. They're both ruled by Mercury, but it's different functions of Mercury. Virgo is more analytical and stuff like that, while Gemini is more, about speaking and having your voice heard and kind of more of like I don't want to say more artistic, but more of a go with the flow energy, way less like structured. But both can, like the Virgo can be very, very good with like things like research or anything educational. Like I imagine that you were like, I don't know, like the thing is that with Virgo and Gemini, like you might be very fidgety, you might have like anxiety issues, or you might like, because like both of these signs, Mercury like will do that, right? So it's super important to understand that, and to understand that you are predisposed to having anxiety, but that is a karmic impetus for you to figure out ways to combat it. I'm not saying you for sure do. And I wanted to search something 1 second. Hold on. Okay, let me see this. Yeah, so like, the sun square moon, it's like an internal war between two equally powerful desires. And it's like the desire for emotional commitment and the desire for autonomy, right? So it's difficult, but it creates lots of tension. There's lots of, lots of very successful people that have it. It creates, like I said, it creates, you can like kind of become your own worst enemy. And then lots of like obstacles, right? But really the struggle is within. So it's like things can happen externally, but it's really like within that the work needs to be done. And it's very, very big for achievement because it just grinds the wheels, right? And maybe like growing up, there's issues with the parents. Like a lot of times, like a square when sun and moon means like a divorce or something. But overall, like you have like a lot of times two very different like messages that you received from mother and father. Like maybe like if you have to summarize like in a paragraph, like what was the main message I got from my dad and from my mom, they'd be like way different. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there was an actual divorce, but usually it means that like there was, just not like a real understanding on like overall life philosophy. Okay. Let's see if I can find this. Okay. But yeah, as I was saying, like not all squares are created equally. Like it's way more difficult to have squares in fixed signs like Leo, Scorpio, for example, and Taurus, Aquarius. That's way harder than mutable ones, right? Like basically because the mutable signs are ruled by Mercury and Jupiter. So they're a lot different than like with the cardinal, they're fixed. But basically what happens is, like I said, there can be like this feeling like I literally have therapy and I talk about this. I talk about my Leo Sag side, my fire side, and my Pisces water side, and how like it's all about like trying to figure out how not to like let one dominate, right? So more with the with the Gemini moon, very, very curious. There's definitely like a social butterfly energy where it's in the 8th house. So you're going to be someone who's really, really wanting to discover a lot, and you're so young, but you're very interested in like the esoteric, the occult, psychology. You'd be a natural at psychology because you're just so you're so curious about like maybe taboo subjects, right? And I definitely see a talent in that. And the thing with Gemini moon people is that they are multi-talented. Like they can have like multiple like different careers or whatever that they're doing. And it just creates that real flexibility internally. And, you know, the moon representing the emotions. So like what is Gemini, moon has a big need for communication, right? Has a big need to be social, has a big need to be like even small talk, even though you're an eighth houser. So like eighth house moon's like going to be way more deep and way more like not about that. Like Gemini moons, a lot of times they get something like nice out of like the little small talk, you know, things like some people like are like, why do we have to do this? Like, so it's just, and it's very like, you're going to be a very curious person. So this really relates to love life too, because you're going to need a partner who is able to work with that moon sign. You could not be with someone who's just stagnant and boring and this and that, because you are trying to dive deep in your life. You are interested. We'll go into like the Venus and Mars after, but you know, you're interested in, they're both in the same sign, Scorpio. So you're interested in that type of energy, an energy that's fun, that, you know, wants to experience life and be adventurous and go with the flow, right? Which is why not all Virgos are created equally, right? Because you're on the cusp too. But then also who's just really down to go deep. Death, rebirth, transformation. Death, rebirth, transformation. That is the mantra for the Scorpio in eighth house energy. So, you know, it would also mean, like, from a relationship standpoint, that you have a rather like intense, there'd probably be some pretty intense, some real intensity in the relationships, right? Some real, maybe it could be drama. Like at a lower level, it could be drama. It could be like power, like plays, like manipulation, control, right? But at a higher level, it's about like the purest, most romantic energy of two souls coming together. And it's like very, very intimate, right? Very intimate. So it can be scary. It can be intimidating for some people, especially when they're not, you know, as open and as intense, right? So, you know, for people like with charts like yours, it's all about finding the right people, because it's like, you know, you're a rare breed, you know, and you're very unique in that sense. And yeah, so that's kind of what I see with the Gemini, is that it's gonna, you know, the Gemini in the Virgo is that one of them wants to be kind of in the material world, more structured, have their life be like this, then I do this, then I do that, then I do that, which I don't feel intuitively like you're like that, because of you know, my experience with people that are born at 29 and a half or 29 degrees Virgo. But like, you know, they, on some level, that's the tension, is like the organization, the need for like stability and having things like be like set. And then the Gemini moon is like, no, fuck that. I want to like do tons of different stuff. I want to do this one day, this another day, and I don't want to have to make decisions. I don't want to have to make commitments, right? Well, usually Virgos or suns are pretty like big on commitment. You know, they want they prefer things to be sure and less risky. So overall, you know, it's very, very good for the mind. You know, anyone that has these two placements is going to be someone who is an intellectual warrior. In your case, you know, the fact that, you know, Mercury is in your 11th house and, you know, it rules your all these planets. Mercury is super, super strong for you. And Mercury in Virgo, you know, conjunct Black Moon Lilith, you really have to watch out for saying, for like speaking your mind in a way that's like too harsh on other people, like too much of that projection, that Virgo projection. But I would imagine your brain is like a superpower, like, because it's exalted. Virgo is not exalted in dignity in or in Mercury's in dignity in Virgo, meaning that and in Gemini. So the fact that you have Mercury, the mind communication, it makes you just like very, very structured. Sometimes when I do readings for people with this placement, I'm like, shit, like I need to be more concise, because like I'm opposite. I'm Venus, Mercury in Pisces, and I can be a little bit vague and metaphoric with my communication. So it's important for me to be more concise when I do it for the Virgo people. And then they always take notes, and they're very organized. I love having Virgo clients, because I know, I guess if you do end up getting a follow-up, like it's always very interesting what was said. With that said, you're someone who notices a lot. Like you notice little things, and you pick up. You're very observant, right? And it's a very, very strong asset, right? That's one of the things that really works well with the Scorpio and this Virgo. And then also with the moon in where it is, it's like there's this real desire, this real need to go beneath the surface and to kind of like explore, and whether it's like true crime type stuff, or I imagine you're going to want to get that through your career in some way, right? But just anything related to the unseen, right? Because you come into life and you see how the world is shown to us, and you naturally think with all your energy, there's more to this, there's more, and I want to learn about it, right? So that's very interesting. So yeah, with the Mercury in the 11th house, it makes it reinforces that whole thing of communication with friends and the organizations, the groups, how that's super important. And yeah, so really, really want like a desire to find that tribe, find that group, if it's job, whatever it is, we don't know what it is, with common beliefs, and to be able to work in a team is so important. And yeah, I told you, like, the Virgo Mercury is very discriminating mind, very critical, very analytical. They can sometimes become too obsessed with detailed knowledge, and it can kind of be a detriment in daily life. But it's super good for things like research, like anything around like research, like where you have to really like be detail oriented. It just helps in any career, really, right? Because and you also, like I said before, there's like a likeness for being very precise in communications and the words you use, which I'm like the opposite of. So I'm sorry if there's anything I've said that is misleading, but I'm trying my best. And I also I have Mercury in Pisces, but it's sextile Saturn, so that helps me. Okay, so let's look at the aspects here. Okay, so moon square, sun and moon square Mercury. We also said that. So when the moon squares Mercury, it's like the emotions, right? And the way that you express yourself, your communication, your thought process is also at odds. So it kind of just adds to that Virgo Gemini conflict. I thought my cat was there. So yeah, there sometimes there can be this like disconnect between like it can be difficult to like speak your truth, or like you can feel like it's difficult to speak your truth and to communicate what's within, right? Like the moon rules, like it's like the egg, right? The shell of the egg is the ascendant, the white part is the sun, the yolk is the moon, right? So it's like the real internal and conscious part of us. And so yeah, there can be lots of tensions between your heart and your mind. And it can be difficult, right? Where there can be like continual questioning, internal debates between thoughts and feelings. And it can actually end up as like an intellectual or creative genius, right? This is like, because squares are about growth, but it can also be really difficult in the personal life. So what else can I say? I think it can be really difficult for intimate relationships. But anything you feel strongly about or have an opinion on is going to be subject to your questioning, indecisiveness, and variability of emotions or interests, right? Which can be difficult for intimate relationships. But the conflict, between thoughts and feelings can manifest externally as, communication problems between you and your partner. Like you're willing to openly and honestly share your feelings, but the message received can be less thoughtful and caring than intended. Does that make sense? So there's like, you might like want to like say how you really feel, but then it just comes out wrong. And friends may come and go. Family is forever. Yeah. So there can even be real intensities, when it comes to relationships like that. So, but like overall, it's like amazing for wit, charisma. It's not like an evil or like placement that it's like it's very neutral, like in terms of that. It's not saying like it's not saying that. But it can lead like to fame or infamy. Like it's kind of like one of those ones, right? But it's very yeah, it gets easier as time goes on. So okay, besides that, so moon's also squaring your north node. That means that so either your mom, usually it's your mom that represents the moon in your chart. They may have had like a difficult past life with you or past life karma. Because one of your parents, the sun, it's conjunct, right? The north node. So like that makes me think that parent, if it's the father, whichever one was the more dominant one, would be the sun. Like in my charts, it's flipped. My mom is my sun, my dad is my moon. But yeah, there'll be like difficult karma between that needs to get resolved, like a karmic cycle between the two of you, if that's your mother or your father. And also, well, let me get my book out. Somebody's gonna bust out a few books. Page. I found it right away. Yes. Okay. So squares to the nodes are like karmic skip steps, right? So when the moon squares the moon's nodes, we can anticipate unresolved issues with the family of origin, with the formation of the personality, and with the emotional body. There may be specific unresolved material involving the mother or primary caregiver. There will be an inherent insecurity in the personality via a tendency to project the experience of security or happiness outside the self onto the family or significant others. I'm going to read that last part again. There will be an inherent insecurity in the personality via a tendency to project the experience of security or happiness outside the self onto the family or significant others. So this may indicate unresolved gender issues from past lives. There may be dissatisfaction with the gender roles, with issues stemming from the patriarchal bias of our culture and the resulting suppression of the feminine. Or there may be a recent gender switch between this incarnation and the previous one, resulting in a strong identification with the opposite gender. So lots of potentials there. Close by. So yeah, that like if we do the follow-up, definitely like bring that up to me about the square and if that does represent something with the mother. Okay, so now sun. So the sun, we got that we got some good energy there. We don't have any difficult. It's like actually very like it's fueled. It's fueled by Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, all in free flowing, like aspects, trine, and sextile. So that's going to give you like a lot of like the Neptune will give you like lots of imagination and empathy and things of that nature. But a healthy dose, right? The Uranus is going to give you also a healthy dose of Uranus energy, which is that revolutionary, unconventional, like I beat to the beat of my own drum energy, but not so much to the point to where it gets in the way of your growth and your success, right? And then with Pluto, that's going to just give you this like real ability. Once you dial in, once you're prime and you're going towards your life mission, like you'll have this like super ball reserve of like energy. Like when you really like your heart is going towards something, like nothing can stop you. It's like this just really, really strong energy. And it can also make you, with all your Scorpio energy you have, a little bit obsessive. But like it doesn't have to be obsessive in a bad way because this is a sextile. So it's just like it's very, very ambitious energy. But it's all about finding like what you really, really care about. And then the sky is the limit, as we've seen in other parts of your chart. Like Gemini moons are very intelligent. It's like another thing about Gemini moon is that there's going to be an intellectual, usually intellectual open-mindedness, but like, yeah, it's going to be a strength of yours to communicate and to want to be a part of what's current. But then at the same time, the way it helps you, I think the moon in the 8th house is that it's going to push you. I'll just like pop the chart back in, but it's going to push you, with this, like, to be A, social, but B, wanting to learn more about the depths, which, by the way, you should message me about this. I do this by invite only, and I don't really want to like say too much about it, but I do have, I only ask people when I see it in their chart or whatever, but like I do have a group potential for you. So just message me about that. Just say like that you said something about like a spiritual group, but trust me, message me. But yeah, that is going to drive you towards, like, especially with your Mars down here in Scorpio, towards things that are relevant to the 8th house. Life of, like, I could go on with a list of like studies of life after death, aliens, like anything that is unseen, like the mafia, like, I don't know, like conspiracy theories, like whatever it is, it's like you want to know, you want to get deeper, and you want to open up the gates of the unknown realms that are usually closed for most people. You want to open them. So this Mars in the 1st house and Venus in the 1st house. So in Scorpio, like Scorpio is ruling your personality, right? It's ruling your kind of the vehicle you go through life with. So in this case, it's a huge part of your chart, right? And really what it's asking for is it's asking for you to go deeper. It's asking for you to take spiritual risks, to take energetic, emotional risks, and just like go deeper. And it pushes you to, it's in your 1st house. So it's going to push you towards lots of these death, rebirth, transformation moments in your life, right? So it's interesting how it all adds up. But, with the moon, like I said, there's an emotional need for it, and vertex is right by it. So that's just doubling down the fact that like your highest awareness, you have vertex on your moon and north node on your sun. So there are 2 massive points, right, that are similar in the sense that both of them, when you follow them, you get somewhere really good karmically. So following like the high Gemini and the high Gemini 8th house and the high Virgo in the 11th house energy is the best. So yeah, anyways, so kind of moving on, but I'll always go back and forth, or always go back to what I was saying before, like if things pop up about the sun and moon. But so this loaded 1st house in Scorpio is really like it creates a persona, a personality that's very intense. People don't, like, you might not say much, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but people, like, it's almost like this energy, like people are not going to fuck with you, like you're not someone that's to be bullied around. And it can be a very magnanimous energy that, like, you're in the room, you're not saying anything, but people notice you, that's kind of the mystique of Scorpio. So with respect to love life, I would assume that your love life would take on a very, I'm going to switch my camera back, a very, like I said before, like there'd be lots of intensity. There's lots there, lots that happens in that realm. And a strong, like lots of, I usually, like, it's very loyal. Moon in Gemini, and of course, a lot of this is determined by maturity and resolved or unresolved trauma, stuff like that. But like Scorpio in love likes to be loyal, right? So whether that's the case or not, the thing about the Gemini moon is that the Gemini moon needs to be entertained and can get bored really easily. So that's something that, like, any partner of yours would have to know that, like, this is just how you are. Like, you want a lot out of life. You want to have a lot of experiences. And if you're with someone where there's lots of stagnancy and they're just kind of sitting around and there's no fun, there's none of that, like, not from a hedonistic perspective, you always have to be doing something new. You're here to really go deep, right? So I'd imagine that you'd have like lots, like I'm not gonna say you'd have like a lot of romantic escapades or like partnerships or whatever, but the ones you do have are intense and they're like life-changing and they really like have a huge impact on you. So, and yeah, also one other random thing I would say is watch out for overspending with that Venus square Jupiter, and like kind of like overly betting on yourself at times, but that's where the being a Virgo definitely comes into play. Venus, sextiling Mercury, that's very, very good for the mind, even more like proof that you're very intelligent. And, it makes you able, it's very good for communication in the sense that you're able to really speak your feelings. Like it helps with that other square that make the square between Mercury and the moon, because it adds some sweetness to your communication, your touch. And it can make it, even though it's in Scorpio, the fact that it is Venus and it is sextiling Mercury, it makes it so you can be a little bit more positive, a little bit more optimistic in your thought processes. And I just want to make sure that, okay. So another big part of your karma, just going back to Mercury really quick, is getting past that, like everything I was talking about the low Virgo energy as it relates to communicating and thinking. So is there like a way that you communicate that seems like it's kind of been your past life go-to that's problematic, right? If you have an answer for that, that's kind of what it's asking, is it's asking you to really conquer, this communication. I don't want to say issue, because you do have a very strong Mercury, but it's asking you to really get past a lot, right? To really like move away from the rough energy of the Virgo Mercury. So yeah, perfectionism. And then also the anxiety piece, right? The anxiety piece, anxiety is held within the body. So there's definitely ways to work with it. I'm not sure if you've read the book, The Body Keeps Score. I think that's the name of it. But yeah, it's just talking about somatic psychology and how everything is stored within us. And that's why things like yoga and whatnot really, really helps. So, okay. So Mercury. Yeah. So just like watching out for your words, like your words can really affect people, and you might not have fully noticed that, but you have to really have lots of discernment when it comes to what words you use, because they can actually have like a more hurtful impact on others. So Venus, as I was saying, it's on the ascendant, which makes it very strong in Scorpio. That's very good for beauty and attractiveness. Everyone knows that if you have Venus on your rising, you're going to have a lot of beauty, especially like in the eyes, right? And yeah, so like I said before at the start of the reading, the Chiron rising also is going to add some sort of like wounded healer, like you kind of will maybe carry yourself like a wounded healer, if it makes sense. And that might really, really play into your life, into your personality, into like what you're meant to do is heal yourself. And maybe it's from like physical like types of trauma, or maybe it's from like psychological, because it's in the house of Aries, which is fit the body, but then it's in Scorpio, which is psychological, sexual, stuff like that. So there's a million potentials. Like astrology isn't just going to say like this or that. It's like this is just like the archetypes, right? So yeah, so the Venus placement here mixed with the Chiron is going to give lots in ascendant. It's going to be very interesting in terms of how you carry yourself, that mix of intensity, healing, but then also grace and beauty. And then you have Mars, which is further on in that house, the first house still, which basically will speak about how, Mars in the first house is very assertive, and it's in Scorpio. So like, just, anyone that has Mars is about sex. It's about action. It's about like the, that leftover kind of animal instinct within us. So when you have Mars in either Aries or Scorpio, it's a very, very high sexual energy. But what I mean by sexual energy, I don't just mean, I mean, yeah, like Mars and Scorpio are infamous for being like people will say it's the best lovers, them, and yeah, like it's just, that's what it's known for. But I'm saying sexual energy in the sense that everything within us is sexual energy. So you'll have an abundance of sexual energy, of course, with strong sexual urges, but you know, it won't make you want to just like go, like you'll be very, you'll probably be quite picky, right? And you know, with the Venus there, you might like put people like potential partners through tests and really like make sure that they're not full of shit. You have like this built-in lie detector, right? With this Scorpio rising. So you know, using that to your advantage, and the Scorpio, Mars, and Venus, right? But yeah, so Scorpio, Mars, like that, it's just like very strong energy. It's like figuring out like a creative outlet for it is so important, right? And the fact that you have all these in the first house is very interesting. Just, you know, makes Taurus rule the descendant, excuse me, and Venus, in the opposite house, rules the 7th house. So to me, that's speaking to me about like an imbalance, a karmic imbalance in relationships, and how like relationships and just in general, like in some lifetimes, you know, relying too much on other people's power, right? On your combination with other people. Like let's say like maybe like codependence. While in other lives, it's like the opposite. It's like being like so just like I'm my own person, like I'm doing what I'm doing, like it does not matter. Like, yeah, I might like this person's in my life, but like, you know, if they get in the way with me at all, like or you know what I mean, like not willing to make any compromises for love. So it's about finding a balance between that. But overall, you know, Mars in the first house, that gives a very strong drive for self-expression and for being independent, right? For really like owning, just like, and tends to meet life in a very head-on, assertive manner, even with Chiron there. And sometimes they can become, you know, Mars first house, aggressive if their path is blocked. And it can be very rash, sometimes impulsive. But I would imagine that, you know, Scorpio is such a plotting, you know, planning sign that it makes you more just like, in Virgo too, that you probably are very like, tactical. And also with Mars and Scorpio, you don't want to fuck with these people. Like they are not like, you not want them as your opponents, you know, like because they typically they don't really forget. And a big thing with Scorpio energy also, I got to add, is like learning, like, because Scorpios like learning to forgive is really hard. But when they can do it, like, and still like at the same time hold love and compassion. Let's say someone cheated on you, or like whatever, something happened, right? Like the Scorpio, like on one level will want to get revenge, right? It's a very vengeful sign, but it's about feeling that energy, feeling that pain, and allowing that to somehow transform you through you getting in touch with your emotions through it. And that's kind of the difference between the low and the high level Scorpios, is that one of them act on these like impulses, you know, of revenge and this and that, while the other ones, they take it as a lesson, and they allow it to be like the fertilizer for their growth and their renewed self, their expanding new regenerated self. Oh, this nose, it's like I keep scratching my freaking nose. Why? Okay, anyways. Also, like Mars and Scorpio, they just love a good challenge in whatever it is. It's very, very good for willpower. And the thing about like why I said like you want them to be your opponents, because they're not going to be like Mars and Aries, like where it's like, I'm going to come fight you, blah, blah, blah. They can be very like, you know, calm and collected on the surface, but below the surface, there's like this seething pool of emotion, and they're planning these things. It's like, you know, you never know. Like I saw this video on Instagram that is so funny. it was this girl. I'm sure she's a Scorpio. She had to be, or have some Scorpio. And she took her like boyfriend who cheated on her, but he didn't know that she cheated, that she knew that he cheated. So they go on this like boat, this like little puddle boat. I don't know where it is, maybe Florida or something. And she acts like everything's all good. And then there's like a slide on this. It's like one of those like small boats that you paddle with slides. And then he goes on the slide in the middle of the ocean, or like, like way far out. And then she just says, "Fuck you, peace out. You cheated on me. Like we're broken up. Have fun swimming back." And it's like so far, and that's like the intense like Scorpio energy, right? I thought that was a funny story. But yeah, it's just so good at seeing through the facade, and it really complements your moon in the 8th house. Like they like to test themselves, right? So they can like create all sorts of rules and goals, especially as a Virgo, like there can be lots of competitive energy. So I told you before, with the sexual energy, which is energy in general, there's a very high energy level. So it's like, where does that get channeled? And very disciplined, self-reliant, efficient. And there's definitely a strong sense of purpose too. I mean, you're very young. Most of my clients aren't as young as you, and I respect that a lot. That you've probably seen. You're an old soul for sure, and you're just going after like what's interesting into you. I don't know if you're like what you know about astrology, or if you're interesting. Also, I always like kind of like throw in these little things just because people don't really know. But I do personalized astrology classes too. If that's something you're ever looking to learn, like a one-on-one, it's very affordable. It's way better than Deborah Silverman's like $1,000 thing. That yeah. Anyways, so besides that, yeah. So you just like they'll be very attracted to the opposite sex, and they won't necessarily like be looking for like the physical part. Like it's just more about like loyalty. And the psychological aspect that they're really attracted to. And yeah, just so much magnetism, and very faithful to their partners, like I said before. Very complex, and they need partners that want to share the depth and intensity of the sexual experience that they have. And they can really like give their partners a lot of emotional depth. So that's interesting, right? Like it kind of just like could be like if like dating someone like you for anyone is going to be like a very spiritual, transformative experience, right? Or maybe like because there is this certain level of karma and whatever. There's a chance that perhaps like getting introduced to the shadow, right, is to one's shadow through the relationship with you. And you do have Venus sextile the North Node, so that's kind of doubling down on that. And Mars and Venus are both sextile the North Node and trying the South Node, which basically means that like you're gonna have lots of luck and good fortune when it comes to love and to meeting the right people. But there's lots of lessons to be learned through that. But it's not like a difficult like bad like tough karma with love. It's like you're gonna have relationships that show up that are here to really teach you and really help you. So I need to make sure that okay. Perfect. So yeah, that's interesting stuff. So Venus, okay, talked about that. So the Mars, we've got, oh yeah, and then Venus. Okay, so that's okay. Mars conjunct Pluto. Ooh, la. Damn. And sextile Neptune. So yeah, like basically, with Neptune and Mars, like it's a sextile. You're going to you have this push to be very humanitarian. You have this push towards spirituality. It once again is another indicator of like increased intuition and empathy. and being able to feel into like the zeitgeist, or just like, like the energy in the room or whatever, or with someone. And then the facts, and also, with Venus, I want to say one other thing about Venus square Jupiter is that it can, there can be like an overexpansion when it comes to love. And there can be like real ups and downs when it comes to self-worth, where there's like this, so it's very important, like to find like a solid base for that. Right. 1 second. I just remembered something. Hold on. Okay, good. So Mars, the planet, of action, the assertiveness function within us, conjunct Pluto. So they're in different signs, but it's still a conjunction. And I guess it's 8 degrees out, I guess 7.4, but still, yeah. Okay, so when Mars and Pluto are together, that is the most dynamic firepower energy. Speak of energy, like your energy levels are crazy high. Like you are very, very high energy. It can even be said like volcanic, right? So it's really important for you to have like a physical outlet, or like, intellect, like any kind of outlet. Like you're going to have this like it's very, very ambitious. So super strong desire to achieve your goals, which goes in line with the Virgo part of you, right? For you, it's just more about figuring out, okay, like what direction do I want to go? What direction fits my soul the most, right? But really, yeah, so it gives lots of strength, passion, courage, like such a like intense and deep will. You have to watch out for like manipulating people, for like for using the low energy of Scorpio in order to like get to the top. And it can create volatility in personal relationships until you learn to really harness that intense energy, because it can make one very expressive, quick to anger. But like really, it's better to like lose your temper than let all these things build up inside you, right? Nothing worse than that. So it's really important to figure out healthy ways to have communications around anger, right? That's huge. The book Nonviolent Communication is a book that I recommend probably like 20% of my readings. I'll bring that book up because it's just like so good at teaching communication skills. It's a very famous psychology book. Because I have my 2 masters in psychology, by the way. And another thing I do is I do astrological based psychotherapy. So let's see more about that. There's like, just like a deep warrior energy. So like, like I said, like you don't want to fuck with you. Like it's you're not the best enemy to have, right? But so in order to like from relationship standpoint to really enjoy healthy relationships, you have to really transform this raw primal energy into a higher level of it by working to like help and heal other people, which goes back to that Chiron on your ascendant, right? Because you have the ability to rapidly evolve karmically when you're being of service, which is like also like Virgo and a lot of that. So maybe like a career path that's linked to that. And you can still be ambitious and aim for the top, right? But it's just like, I don't know. It's better to not have to like be in a field where you're have to trample others to get to the top, or like where like that's something that can happen. Not saying that that's you at all. I'm just saying it's because like basically with your chart, what I'm getting, the hit I'm getting is that whatever, no matter what you choose, unless you get in your own way, with the low Virgo energy, like you're pretty much going to have success. I mean, you like, of course it's going to take hard work. And also, Venus squaring the midheaven can speak to like love and self-image issues, if those are issues getting in the way of like your highest career potential. But we'll get into that in a little bit. So, okay, what else about this? So I said, yeah, charismatic. So yeah, using your charisma, sexuality, and power while maintaining good morals and ethics is the key for this one, right? And you can really influence others in life-changing ways. And is there any challenging? One second. And sometimes there's karmic issues to crime, slavery, rape, torture, violence with this one. So yeah, it's intense. And I didn't see any difficult transits, or excuse me, aspects. Yeah. So yeah, so it's not a bad one. It's one that just has to, it's like you're a Ferrari. And you know how like, or Lamborghini or whatever, like, you know how they're like, you're like a very powerful horse or something. You know how some horses are just like really, really fast, but they're hard to ride and control. So it's like learning to control that, right? Which is the mind. That's the first step with all the Mercury energy, is to learning to control that. And then just like having that creative outlet, having that creative push. And, you know, you're going to be so multi-talented with the Gemini energy. So, yeah. Okay. So Jupiter in the 4th house is, in Aquarius. By the way, you have water. Do you have any fire? No fire for personal planets. Earth, you have air and water. So yeah, when you have no fire signs, which are like planets in Aries, Sag, or Leo. And I know you have like your Saturn over here in Aries, but I don't really count that one because it's an outer planet. So, and like the inner planets are what rule the conscious parts of our personality. So when you lack fire, sometimes you can but the thing is, you lack fire, but you have so much 1st house Scorpio that's going to make up for it a lot, because the 1st house is Aries. But usually when people lack fire, they can lack that assertiveness, that ability to kind of get started, that, you know, the fires are burning and boom, you just start something, you make this big decision, then you follow through with all the earth, right? Earth is like the follow through, fire is like the start. Fire is also very, very fun energy. And it basically, like, you know, it's passion, right? So when you lack fire, that you have to like, okay, where can I have that passion? Where can I have that assertiveness and that ability to really self-start? Those are what you know, where you're looking, or what you're looking for. With, like I said, that configuration over here in the 1st house, especially the Mars there, I think it's going to make up for a lot of that. So that's good. Okay, so Jupiter, in its position in Aquarius, you know, it's ruling your, what was I saying? Your South Node, actually Neptune / Jupiter. I was going to say something about Jupiter. What was I going to say about Jupiter? It rules your 2nd house. So that's really, really good for money. And also typically self-esteem. Like there's like a real sense of abundance when it comes to money matters. But you also, I told you have to watch out for being a spendthrift. And then it can also make you really good at seeing the big picture in life. I'm going to go from house to house, actually. So like, yeah, the 1st house Scorpio, you know, I talked about that life a lot. And you view reality as kind of a battle in which triumph and defeat often feature. And intensity is a key mode of your self-expression. And you need to balance this with some practicality and stability, and kind of like really move into the energy of the Virgo. So then, okay, 3rd house ruled by Capricorn. We got only Neptune in it. So, you know, 3rd house Capricorn, 3rd house communication, siblings, early environment. you know, how we talk, how we think. So that makes one very pragmatic. Like having the wisdom to know when to speak and when not to speak. And the fact that, you know, so it will create like a kind of like a more structure to that, and it goes well with your Virgo Mercury. But then the fact that you have Neptune there, which is very close to your, let's see, 10 degrees, 10. Okay, so it's around your IC Jupiter. So Neptune there, retrograde, you know, you'll have a great ability to communicate through the arts or, you know, any kind of spiritual pursuit. But also there can be this experience of mental confusion and a scattered mind at times, right? But overall, with all the other parts, because, you know, astrology is not just done in a vacuum, as I've, you know, always said, it works really well with the rest of your chart, and it's going to give you more of like a creative kind of abstract spin. Like if you're like writing something, for example, you could definitely like be a writer, for sure. Because like, you know, the Scorpio is going to love to get to the depths, and then that's a really strong placement too. Also, Neptune in the third house, it can make create some like kind of vagueness around siblings, and like just like some type of confusion around siblings. I'm curious about that too. What else can I add? Neptune third house. Yeah, so I talked about that. Yeah, it can grant really good poetic abilities, or lead someone to become a painter or a sculptor. It's like confusing relations with siblings. Like there can be like stepbrothers, stepsisters, or like having siblings that you don't even know about. These kind of things are possible. But this is really also great for entering astrology studies, because you're easily able to perceive the mechanism under the movement of the stars and get the big picture. And with the Virgo, you're a very good studier, right? You can kind of almost have this like sponge-like understanding of astrology, which is awesome. You'll usually prefer places with water, like rivers, waterfalls, lakes, ocean, all that. And you can be easily hypnotized. So also you have to watch out for like joining like cults and sects like that, right? Sects. So you like sometimes you can too easy, like people at the placement can too easily accept spiritual ideas imposed on them. So it's important to have like a very like stable, not that you're not stable, but person near you. Like whether while learning at school, studying, working, whatever you're doing, someone who brings you back to earth while you are distracted, right? And this can also have, you know, can speak about like relationships too. And someone who like will inspire you to really keep yourself organized. And there'll always be these kind of people present, right? Because you know, this placement will bring a lot of kind people around you. So it's all about just choosing the best ones. So yeah. And yeah, so like third house Neptune is always receiving help, except if she stays too shy to ask for it and no one notices. Yeah. So okay, fourth house ruled by Aquarius. So that's talking about early home life being potentially busy and unpredictable. You may have had upheavals in your home life during your childhood. So I mean, you know, here Uranus is right there too in that fourth house. So it's kind of doubling down on that message. And basically like you have Jupiter and Uranus in the fourth house. So this is like a really interesting combination because on one hand, Uranus there is going to create like a potential childhood where there was like lots of movement, very unconventional. Maybe there was like hippie kind of parents, or maybe like the parents were not really like there very much, or like they were a little bit like unavailable potentially. but I do see a trine with the sun, which would indicate to me that the father, whichever one of the parents, if there's one that you're exceptionally close with, had like this very like unconventional energy, but it was a very good effect on you. Like it really like it helped you become a more free person. So it squares your ascendant. Like to the degree. And that's an interesting one. Let me look at my notes for that. But you know, what I would see from that, I haven't seen that square, but you know, Uranus is the great liberator, right? So it wants to do things different. And it can create, you know, when it squares the ascendant, it can make you very creative with a strong need for personal freedom. No. And really, really standing out, like with your appearance and stuff, right? Which can be kind of at odds with the Scorpio mantra of like, you know, being more private. And you know, so you may pay a lot of attention to your appearance in order to really express this creative and unique part of you. And like kind of like where like it's like you feel like the degree to which you can look different and break societal norms is like mirroring the level of your uniqueness, right? And the more extreme the difference in your appearance, the more extreme your need for personal independence will become. And this can obviously change at different times in your life, right? So the major effect of your different kinds of personality and self-expression is on the relationships, obviously, right? And there can be lots of like, you know, irritation and spontaneous impulses that come from this, even though it's very creative and brilliant and very genius. So it can make one kind of unpredictable, outspoken, rebellious. Like there can be like drastic changes associated with relationships because it's also, you know, squaring your descendant. So it can kind of make it so like freedom, you may all of a sudden like feel really, really caged in and boxed in a relationship, and then it's like you'll just like need to get out. So like you'll probably need to like have space in relationships as well. So let's see. So if you, okay, this is another part of it. So if you contain like your uniqueness and that your Uranian energy through some type of like strict, like overly self-disciplined, it's likely that you'll seek a partner who's very erratic and fills that need for excitement and spontaneity, which is already shown by the Gemini moon. And this would lead to, you know, a built up nervous tension and erratic behavior on your part because of the other person's lack of commitment or potential abusiveness. But on the other hand, if you don't resist this urge for freedom, to like the level of like rebelliousness and even selfishness, then finding happiness and fulfillment would be most difficult. Because your partner would then find you uncooperative and changeable in your level of emotional commitment. So, yeah. So if you feel like that person, like I was saying before, tries to exert some freedom of their own, you would feel this is a threat to your own independence. So this together with poor timing and aggression could lead to you subconsciously sabotaging relationships. See what I'm saying? So the key is to finding a balance between personal freedom and self-expression, which is also shown in other parts of your chart, within the close relationships. So it's like, yeah, personal freedom and self-expression, having those like balancing those two. Also, like, you know, obviously self-control is required, which we talked about that before. Mika, here's my cat, but not to like the degree of smothering your creativity, right? Like it's like you're being tested this lifetime through your partners, which I talked about before. And I think with how the Venus and North Node are positioned, it's not necessarily going to be like the most like horrible, like toxic things. It's just there's definitely or like partners that come in. It's just they're here to test you. Okay, so yeah, but so Uranus in the fourth, you know, basically like it's just like I said, like a busy, unusual, unconventional home life as a child. A lot of people like who have this have divorced families, and they may seek unusual home or lifestyle as an adult. So then with Jupiter, and then also fourth house, yeah, Uranus, like I could see it being like very minimalistic in terms of living. I could see something like adoption, like some water. I see it a lot with my clients though, which is interesting. Lots of residence changes, but they'll probably remain unhappy if they have to stay in one place, because they want to move around, and a lot of times they're never really that connected to like the country they came from. So yeah, also it has to do with the paranormal and the occult. So this can speak more to that interest, also to the roots, ancestry. So you can actually like through meditations of some sort, like, and you're easily hypnotizable, like shamanic drums or something like that, shamanic ceremonies, like come into contact with like ancestors and stuff. Yeah. What else can I say? Yeah, so there can sometimes be like an aversion, like a hate, not hate, strong word, like just like a strong dislike for property ownership. So I talked about that. But really like the attitude can be a stepping stone to discovering the native's real self. And the best thing when this is a case is to just follow the instincts and flow with the reality. Go with the flow. And I don't think there's any issues with Uranus besides that square. So yeah. Okay, so then Jupiter on the IC. Wow, what a beautiful placement. Jupiter on the IC. It's basically saying that like, so that speaks to like some form of expansion from your childhood. Oh yeah, and these are all retrogrades. So like, it's basically like outer planet retrogrades. The way I see it from my perspective is that you're almost having to like redo and refine the meaning of the specific archetype. Like for example, Neptune, like maybe being deceived in the past life or being a deceiver, right? With Uranus, like being too rebellious or not being rebellious enough, like being too like maybe like a need to be like to really like become a need for that real deep individualization. And then Jupiter, it can have to do with beliefs. There could have been like lies, where you're here in this lifetime to really like move away from dogmatic mindset and find a new way of looking at truth and finding truth, which is shown all over your chart. But Jupiter is what expands. So in Aquarius, that's like someone who can be like a good inventor, very, very humanitarian, very social energy, someone who like just has lots of friends from different walks of life and who doesn't judge based off of like it's very like racially and socially inclusive in terms of its values. And they really seek like the new and the inspirational, which goes, it's trining your moon. So these two, your moon and Jupiter, work really well together, because they both want the same thing. And there's like this expansion, right? And they're in water houses too. There's this desire for this expansion, emotional expansion through the 8th house. And fourth house Jupiter enjoys large homes, typically, large family, maybe like leading like a home life according to like the philosophy, like, or religious beliefs that you have. And fourth house Jupiter, you might really seek the meaning of life and like finding that higher truth. Like you might like do a lot of that work from your house, right? Usually it speaks of like a very happy childhood, lots of playing, good secure environment. And yeah, I mean, What else can I say about that? Like a prosperous family, just needs met as a kid, and usually it gives like a very like expansive and optimistic internal outlook on life later on. What else can I say? So and is there any bad aspects? I don't think so. Sometimes the only adverse thing is there could have been like a spoiled child, or like the favorite one among the parents. If this is speaking of wealth in the family, it can make one lazy. So there's these types of things, right? Like not having to ever work for anything because the parents provided everything. Yeah, I don't think that's you. Just like, yeah, obviously, like there's more things in life than just having a good time. Sometimes this placement can like feed its lower instincts too much, like hedonistic kind of stuff. So yeah, it's about like spiritual evolution over wealth evolution, or like prioritizing that, and that's Jupiter and luck will work better. It'll be very good like for you in the aging process. Lots of benefits as you're older also. And yeah. So it's kind of opposite to the other energy, because the other one, Uranus, is like change locations, change where you live. But then Jupiter in the 4th house is basically saying it's not favorable to change residence location. And that wherever you're from, you'll prosper a lot more. And usually people that have this, like they're complacent in that sense, and they're not really interested in relocating elsewhere. So yeah, and the fact that Uranus is in its own house, or it's like it's in the house like ruled by Aquarius, is pretty interesting. So then, okay, 5th house Pisces, South Node. So 5th house Pisces. I think we just have a few more. Basically, like that's very, very strong creative energy, and like just like very talented artistically, enjoying music, dance, art, theater, whatever it is, whatever like helps you escape. You can do that. Like it's very important to have those healthy escapes through creativity. And maybe you're an artist of some sort, or at least have like a very artistic, creative outlook on life. So wow, another 90 minutes already. South Node in Pisces, ruled by Neptune. It's basically just saying that in past lives, kind of this mystical energy that you've carried over. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about that. Mystical energy, and it's like in this life a quest to become dedicated to the service of others, and overcoming the tendency to daydream and feel overwhelmed, and to put all of this like past life compassion, mysticism, and wisdom to practical use for humanity. That's why you're a Virgo. That's why you're a Virgo in this life, is to take all of this like this wisdom from past life that you're like, I don't know how long you've been studying, or if you've been studying this kind of spiritual stuff, but this is like, it's all going to come back to you. You'll have downloads. You'll be like, oh shit. Like, especially when you're being creative and you're just like, let's say you're just like drawing or writing something automatic, not even thinking, like you'll get downloads, or meditating too. Okay. 6th house ruled by Aries. Okay. So usually, you are a Virgo, but the daily life is far from steady. You like to start the day early, free to set your own routine rather than being tied to stable routine. And Saturn's also there. So, Mars ruling the 6th in Scorpio. Okay. Just making sure that you're watching your health is what I would say. Making sure that you're paying attention, getting checkups, when you need to get them. But with Saturn there, one of the best places you can have Saturn, I think, in my opinion. I think it has to be in the house of Virgo. So there's a real need for structured daily work, which really speaks well to your Virgo sun and Mercury. And there could be early health problems. And it's really important to have like a daily health program. It can be very beneficial. And it also gives really, really strong organization abilities. So then the fact that it's in Aries makes one very resourceful in terms of how they work, and very capable of applying new methods in a very practical manner. And the lessons, because that's, Saturn's lessons are about patience and self-reliance. So Taurus ruling your 7th house. Okay. So, Taurus in the 7th, 7th house rules like partnerships, romantic, business partnerships, one-on-one close partnerships, but not like friendships. So you'll prefer like more stable, practical partners, and you'll feel secure with someone who really values loyalty and commitment, basically. And at the same time, it's ruling Venus, which I talked about before, which is in Scorpio, which, like that's like the energy of like really looking for a soulmate in this life, not just a marriage partner, but like someone who you can share your life at the deepest possible level, like complete immersion, right? It's a very intense need, right? I don't think I talked enough about this part. And that, like I said, like creates like intensity in relationships because of that deep need to transform and to combine. And sexual intimacy, intensity is one of those aspects that's important. And so yeah, without the emotional and sexual intensity and that transformation and death, rebirth, transformation, all that, you'll feel that your relationship is lacking a vital quality, and you might just like be over it. That's kind of how it is. Like it's really, you need that, especially in adding to it is that Gemini moon, right? I just thought I would chug that. Why not? Okay. So moving on. Actually, what else can I say about Saturn in the 6th house? So yeah, it is, it can create workaholics, which Virgo is a sign of workaholic, probably one of the main ones. And it can give like really demanding karmic work surroundings. So like, even if you're not like in like the job, because you're young, actually, I don't know. But like maybe like just like whatever jobs you've had, like there can be very like tense and very like karmic, like you're doing this job because it's karma. And you have to watch out for like psychosomatic health issues. I'm not a health astrologer, so I don't really make many comments, but I can tell you that linked psychology to body. And work can have a strong effect on your health. So like just really watching out for overworking. And yeah. What else can I say? So sometimes people with this placement, they have like, they don't really like want, it's not they don't like animals, but they don't want to own them. But then again, you're a Virgo, and Virgos love animals. So it's just like, I think that the Virgo part probably wins over, but I don't know. So really be careful about getting married before 30 years old. And the reason behind this is simple, right? So Saturn travels, it does a Saturn return in 29 years, right? So what was I saying? So when someone reaches the first Saturn return, Saturn is entering the 7th house of partnerships. After having made its return to the birth part, right? It starts here, it goes around, and then it's here 6th, and then right after that 7th. And basically the 7th house, like I said, it's for marriages, and in case someone is already married by the time that this happens, there's a high possibility of like not necessarily divorce, but just tons of issues for 2 super difficult years during the transit or the time 2.5 years of Saturn in the 7th house. So the ideal would be to wait for Saturn to get to the 8th house and then consider uniting with another person. And also you should be careful of health issues during that period, your Saturn return. And I do those readings, Saturn return readings, but like, I mean, I don't know when it's, let's see. Your Saturn is, yeah. So, oh shit, wait, hold on, let me think. Where is Saturn right now? Okay. Yeah, so you got a while, you got a little bit. I mean, your Saturn's in Aries. It still has to go past Aquarius and then past Pisces, and then it's you. I can't tell you how many years that is. Let me think, like maybe like 2025 or 2026, something like that. I don't know. Maybe, yeah, 2026 would be my guess. Anyways, okay, so. And by the way, like this is like the birth chart reading. Most of my clients, like after they get this one, they get the current astrology reading because they're 2 completely different things. Like this is when you get down to one time. The current astrology is a live reading. So it's actually like, a direct Zoom, and it goes over like what's happening for you astrologically right now. And that one's very, very, very important to kind of add, because you can have like a transit, for example, like me right now, Neptune is squaring my moon, and that's completely colored my life in a different manner, for the time that I was doing that. So just keep that in mind. Let me know if you're interested. I'll give you a special discount code for 20 further dollars off on that one too, if you're interested. I have to tell people about this, or they just don't know. And I'm way over time. Geez. Okay, whatever. So yeah, 7th house, we got that. So 8th house ruled by Gemini. It can make one sexually curious. And with your moon there's like an emotional need to just dive in. I would talk about that. Dive into the esoteric, dive into, the cycles of life and the metaphysical nature of the world, right? All the big questions, like what energies are at play in human relationships, like what happens after death, why, like how does synchronicity work, right? Like questions like that. And, like Gemini moon, need for mental stimulation. I talked about that a lot. It can make someone talk a lot. Yeah. So part of fortune in the 9th house in Cancer. So part of fortune basically is like a place of your chart. It's on a planet. It's like where you can get like lots of joy, and kind of like a flow state. So in the 9th house, it's like your greatest joy is experienced through the discovery of truth and also traveling. And, like, so yeah, like getting closer to higher truth, which is like so much, like we talked about that a lot. Esme, here's Esme, but she can't stay right now. And then in Cancer, you'll find lots of joy through nourishing yourself and others, also maybe through family. And potentially, like if you have, like if you have kids, it could be a very beautiful energy. And with South Node in the 5th house, there could be a very strong karmic link between you and your kids. Okay, midheaven in Leo in the 10th house. Basically like that, your sense of self-importance can strongly be linked with public status, really liking to shine in your professional field. And it's good for like leadership in your profession, strength, power, all that stuff. Making the sun, rule your career, which is in the 11th house. So it's like, once again, there's this huge link between that Virgo sun in the 11th house and like the groups, organizations, whatever it is, it's super karmic and and you really have this desire, this like to shine within that. So Virgo 11th house. So this one's interesting because it can make someone kind of fussy about the company they keep. Also a very practical, caring, loyal friend. Like they'll like do like go over the moon for their friends, and really just like an asset to any group or club organization. But yeah, you have to watch out to watch out for being like overly critical of friends who fail to live up to your expectations that I talked about before. And honestly, like, because there's the North Node here and there's so much energy in this area, you might feel like your friend group or like people you work with or whatever are like your family. So yeah. And Juno, to add to the love stuff in Virgo, basically like in the 11th house, it's like, you'll want to socialize with your partner. Like Juno's like taking Venus a step further. It's like the marriage asteroid. And in Virgo, you're like, you have to watch out for like really looking for that perfect partner. And you may need to make adjustments in order to accept less than perfection because it just doesn't exist. And you really just need a partner who can be consistent, who can attend to details and contributes to the daily like routine and chores if you're like living with them or something like that, right? I talked about Black Moon Lilith. I talked about all these. So these are all covered. And finally, I'm going to read a piece out of, oh no, I didn't talk about Pluto in the second. So we'll finish. We'll talk about the 12th house being ruled by Libra, which has a lot to do with past lives. But yeah, there can be like a fear of conflict, oversensitive to the need of others. But let's find this. They're pretty short. So Libra in the 12th house. So, and it's ruled by Venus. So once again, Venus playing a big role because where is, one second. Yeah, because it rules your descendants and then it rules your 7th and your 12th house. So that's once again speaking to very karmic partners. Okay, your soul's previous existence was one of cooperation and partnership. Somewhat weak and dependent in the past incarnation, you buried your happiness here in the bargain basement of the birth chart by using marriage or partnership as a means of escape. Your self-esteem was sacrificed, your love confined, and your talents suppressed as you were victimized in some abusive or even masochistic way for what you thought would be a life of luxury and security. This not only explains why you are now so highly susceptible to flattery and affection, but also why these controlling relationships are not necessarily a thing of the past. Obviously, your passion for the partnerships is your addiction. Sadly, your dependency on others is your weakness. You harbor artistic abilities or musical talents that were severely repressed in the past and discouraged again in this life by either rejection, loss, or criticism. So you got to try the artistic stuff. Manipulating others with your wealth or beauty was the cause of your previous undoing. Remarkable diplomatic skills and a strong sense of justice are your hidden strengths. The past instilled a deep need to enhance your status and strengthen your persona by attaching yourself to a powerful player. Not surprisingly, you unconsciously avoid the ideal marriage relationship by being drawn to dominant partners and manipulative people. So much martyrdom, so little time. Past influences and experience include music, fine arts, design, modeling, public relations, diplomacy, or law. You're more vain than you think and more strategic than we know. The cosmic advice: if you really want power, stop sacrificing it for peace. The last thing I'll leave you with is the Pluto. I always go in the Pluto book. Pluto is kind of like, I guess Chiron, we didn't really talk about. I mean, the fact that it's in Scorpio. So Chiron and Scorpio, you'll feel deep pain, which will surface in the intimate relationships. There could be like pre-birth trauma. Your own deep pain will prompt you to delve into the mysteries of life, though, and your own healing, which you can then heal others with. So you can be like a counselor, teacher type thing. And yeah, it's very, very good for like metaphysics and becoming a spiritual healer. And with the first house, I kind of talked about that already. It's like, there could be like wounding either emotionally or physically. Like with the, every time you express your essential being, you may have felt rejection earlier in life. It's in some level, or maybe still. So this may lead to self-exploration, and you may later become someone who's, like I said, able to teach. When Chiron is on an angle like it is for you, it's usually like indicative of someone who in some way is meant to really like, you have Jupiter and Chiron on angles. So it's like, expanding other people's unconscious. I definitely, this is the natural chart of a psychologist or someone like in a relative kind of field. So anyways, we're going back to Pluto. So last thing I'll say, Pluto in the second house. Actually, let me pull up just to see if there's any big asteroids. Okay. So I'll share the screen one more time. So let's see here. I'm looking for conjunctions only. Rigel. So you got Rigel. Oh, that's kind of far. 16. So it's like, yeah, it's 1 degree away. Okay, and then the sun, is there anything? Ascendant. Venus conjunct Astronomia. So that's another indicator of like astrology, right? Venus creativity conjunct Astronomia. And Rigel, I believe it's a very fortunate fixed star. And I want to search like 1 sec. Asteroids in Virgo astrology. Let's see what we find here. No, not asteroids. Why do I always say asteroids? Fixed stars. Yeah. Okay. So 27. Okay, that's out of orb. Okay, found the list. Perfect. Okay, so let's see. Markeb 2854. Yeah, so Markeb, let's pull that one up, and then I want to find Rigel, which is Gemini 1650. Just want to double check. Yeah, okay. And then nothing for that. Also, your sun moon midpoint meets right at your midheaven. Good thing I saw that. What does that mean? Basically, like where, like the midpoint between your sun, your moon, the like like where they meet in the middle is very close to your midheaven, which is basically saying that like the way to merge these, like you need to find a way to merge the Virgo and the Gemini part of you in your career, in your dharma, in what you're meant to do. It's kind of showing how like that's the best way to kind of like move forward with those. Okay, so I have Pluto in the second house here, but really quickly, Rigel, it's on your moon. I want to see if I can get, it gives they have really weird. I know it's about riches, honor. It gives benevolence, honor, riches, happiness, glory, renown, and inventive or mechanical ability. Is of the nature of Jupiter and Saturn, but later authors consider it favorable and similar to Jupiter and Mars. High ambition, pride, love of power, grandeur of view. Okay. So let's see what it says with the moon there. It says much worry and disappointment. Let's see. Quick rise in life is promised on account of a strong inherent willpower, love of action, and a lucky hand in enterprise. A continuous battle to retain and acquire position has to be waged. This fight, at the same time, stimulates an increase in vigor. Even in the spite of unhelpful aspects, success in reaching the set aim can be secured by this powerful concentration. If, however, the native is not cautious or has an attack of weakness, failure and disappointments, a fall from success will follow. So another one. And it says Sigmund Freud, Jim Carrey, Lionel Messi all have this. Interesting. So yeah. And then Markeb, I don't know much about Markeb, but that's one conjunct your sun. It's a small star of the nature of Saturn and Jupiter. And let's just see if it says anything about the sun there. No, it just only says that Stephen King has it, so I don't know anything. So the small star of the nature of Saturn, Jupiter, dignified, pious, conservative, acquisitive, retentive. It gives pity, a wide knowledge, educational work, and voyages, a spiritual quest involving a life of devoted service to others. There you go. The star Markeb asserts its Jupiterian quality by portending profitable journeys. Fixed star Markeb rules the lower part, blah, 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 the pancreas, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Let's see if I can find anything. No. Oh, wait. Maybe here I found. Yeah, so like I said, Piety, pity, is it like piousness, like religion? A wide knowledge, educational work, and voyages. So there you go. Okay, so finally, you have Juno, or excuse me, Pluto in the second house. So Pluto is like our voyage down to the underworld, and it's like where we like can find through our very difficult shadow work healing and the deepest healing and growth. It's kind of like that in the North Node and the vertex, you know, in the eighth house is once again, just like I said that before, like it's all about like the higher doorway to higher awareness is through like the eighth house energy of death, rebirth, transformation, all the occult, esoteric stuff we talked about. So Pluto, over lifetimes, people with this have had an ongoing need to develop self-reliance and internal security. These people are often harboring past life memories in which survival was threatened, or they had to develop simple coping mechanisms in order to survive intense/difficult experiences. They have developed an innate fixed identity as the basis of, so this is really important. They have developed an innate fixed identity as the basis of inner security through coping with experiences that threaten their identity. So it's like past lives still having the memories where like you were just in scavenger mode potentially. And it's like during those lifetimes, you can't build up your creativity. You're just trying to survive, right? So past lives spent in survival mode lead to the karmic potential for stuckness and habitual self-imposed limitation, which I highlighted, which hinders the soul's potential for growth. This can often involve money, leading to excessive or distorted significance applied to money. They can view money as their savior that can prolong life and give it meaning. So the polarity point, which is like the healing, is the eighth house. And obviously, you know, you have not an opposition between these Pluto and the moon, thank God, but it's in the same sign. So as a person begins to individuate, their identification with external things as expressions of, so as a person begins to individuate, their identification with external things as expressions of personal power lessens, and the identification with the self increases, which then becomes a central resource. Withdrawal from the world is necessary at times in order to clear the prevailing consensus influences and to reconnect with personal values. It's also super important to learn to work with others, which is a huge part of your chart. So very, very interesting stuff. So anyways, because I'm putting this goes on YouTube, I still recommend people like, I don't know like what YouTube downloaders work, but like, I don't know. I always like, I've had way too many people lose these files. Like I used to just send them like recorded files to their emails. And I still do sometimes, but like, I've had way too many people message me and be like, hey, I'm trying, like 2 years later, 3 years later, like, hey, I'm trying to open it. It won't open. I'm like, yeah, because I had to delete it off my Google Drive after a year, you know, or 7 months or 8 months. I don't want to pay $1,000 a month for Google Drive. So yeah, so that's awesome. So yeah, we'll just let me know on Instagram. I'm guessing that's where you follow me, about the follow-up. And if you're interested in that, no pressure, obviously. And then, I told you about all the other stuff that I do. Astro-Cartography is the astrology of places and how the different, we'll have different energy vortexes and anti-vortexes in the world. And then I do compatibility readings, relationship stuff, love astrology, and the current astrology reading, which I told you about, which I suggest. And then astrological counseling. I have packages for those. And I told you 2 master's degrees in psychology. I combine the 2. That's like the deepest I can get. And also finally is the teaching, individualized one-on-one lessons. I scope out exactly where you're at. And then I kind of create like a plan to move forward. So that's it. Thank you so much. This is like literally like nearly a 2-hour reading. That's insane. Jesus, this is like my record, but I hope you enjoyed it, and talk to you later. Ciao.